Welcome everybody, my name is Mr. Llama and today I am bringing you an Inside the Minds of Masters series episode number 6. This is going to be between SlayersMMA and Feast, the Blue Protoss. So it is a TvP from the perspective of the Terran player. And a lot of people were kind of asking about TvP, and they were kind of wondering, when it gets a little bit later on and stuff, what exactly to do. They're just very confused and stuff, and the biggest thing I can say is don't let the Protoss get to that death ball stage. I mean, that's the most obvious thing. But if you look at a lot of TvP games, if you were watching the IPL4, IEM, things like that, if you watch a lot of TvP games, the whole thing that the Terran player does is says, okay, you know what, I am not going to let this get to the late game. So you see a lot of games that are 9 minutes long, 11 minutes long, 10 minutes long, 13 minutes long. I mean, it's just they hit in those windows and they say it's do or die here, blah, blah, blah. And of course you can get into the later game, and there are things you can do, such as getting battle cruisers out, stuff like that. I know one guy was bringing that up, saying, hey, because they spend a lot of their resources on the not Archons. They spend a lot of the resources on like Zealots, on Colossus, on things that are very intense for attacking the ground. Even Archons, I suppose, they're mostly hitting that ground or hitting that splash damage. Things like battle cruisers aren't really countered very well, and it forces them to create more stalkers in their army, which of course stalkers are weaker against the bio. So that's something that some people kind of think about. And if you're getting the +1 upgrades for your Vikings anyways to deal with Colossus, then you know what, if you're going to get them for that, then they'll also go for your battle cruisers. So that's some sort of late game thing that I know some people are experimenting with, but it's still kind of a weird transition, because you do have the reactors on your starports, then you're going to have to switch them over to tech labs and then get your fusion core and stuff like that. So right here it looks like MMA is going to go ahead and go for the 1-Rax expand. He does have no gas be it taken, so that's what is most likely going to happen, and that's what Feast is probably expecting as of right now, as he does not see any sort of gas, and that's exactly what we wanted to get in there and scout for. So with this, and if we scout over here, SlayersMMA scouts, okay, there is not going to be any sort of expansion down at his opponent's base right now. So his opponent didn't go for like Nexus first, which some people actually do go for, especially if they scout your opponent going for a like 1-Rax expand, something like that. Sometimes they'll throw down a Nexus first. So he gets in here, he doesn't scout that, and he says, okay, I have to be a little bit more defensive. I'm going to build this right here on this high ground. This gives him time to get... I'm going to go ahead and lower the volume a tiny bit, because that is loud. Okay. Yeah, so this gives him time... That didn't really lower it at all, did it? This gives him time to throw up bunkers, things like that, or if there's any sort of early aggression. So now he sees the expansion going down, but it's already halfway built. But just in case his opponent didn't expand, it was going to go for some sort of 4-gate, something like that, some sort of very fast pressure. He'd be okay. He also has the wall here, so he can lift up these depots, as he knows he's just going to have these Marines. So if he didn't have a wall to defend with, then he wouldn't have this ramp really to abuse. So let's say he had his like supply depots over here and his barracks right here. His opponent could go for some sort of really fast play, get a few stalkers and zealots, or like that 2-stalker zealot army, and push up into here and just pick off and then get into the base and keep picking off units. So now he's going to move down and set up this bunker. He knows his opponent doesn't really have any sort of units. 1 stalker just popped out now. So the bunker will, of course, be completed in time by the time that the stalker does cross that position. And something else, of course, to note, he threw down these 2 additional racks right after getting his CC right there, and this is just to keep up with production. This is because you want to be safe. He knows right now he's not safe. He has 1 bunker, yes, and his opponent has a stalker and a zealot out, and possibly another chrono boosted stalker, something like that, but he's not quite exactly sure. And so to be safe, he's going to get that 2nd bunker. And I mean, these 2 racks right here are standard, but this is just because the reason that you get them is for that production, because you need the production in case they go for some sort of big push, some sort of like Nexus cancel 4-gate. You never know, and so you need to have your Marines continuously pumping out of that. That's also why there's no reactors. You don't get reactors until you feel safe, and obviously right now he does not feel safe. So he is getting a factory down, which means, hey, he wants to tech into the fast medevacs, or that's usually what it means. I mean, you could do something else, but for the most standard play as of right now, it's saying, hey, I want to go into medevacs, and he's also getting a stim, and note the timing of the stim. This stim will be hitting. It's a 3-minute, of course, build time almost, and so this stim will be hitting pretty close to when medevacs pop out and are ready to go drop. So reactor's going to go down. It's 50 seconds. Starport is 50 seconds as well. So both of these will finish when there's like, let's see, 50, 80, blah, 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 like 90, 80 seconds left on stim. Medevacs then will take an additional, I can't remember the exact time for medevacs, but basically stim will be finishing up if he wishes to go for some sort of push with 2 medevacs or some sort of drops. So it will finish right with that, and that's something to definitely note, as that's a good timing to kind of hit your opponent. So right here he throws up these 3 bunkers because he does not have a very good scout on his opponent. He doesn't know what's going on, so there could be some sort of 2-base heavy, a few immortals, and a big warp in push like that. So immortals gateway unit push, which if he just had 1 bunker he would get crushed by. So getting these 3 bunkers up because hey, he only has marines right now, doesn't even have stim, no upgrades on the marines at all, and hey, little observer. So he's gearing up for this right here, and there's no reason to not get these bunkers at this time because, hey, you know what? It helps you feel a little more safe. It would help you defend better against some sort of big all-in, 2-base, something like that, all-in from your opponent, and you can just salvage them anyways a little bit later when you do push out here. So we see him have an SCV over here, and he's going to be taking a 3rd base. And I want to note the timing of this 3rd base is also matching up right here with everything else that is pumping out. So 2 medevacs. He's going to salvage these bunkers, and he's going to make a push. And what do you do behind a push? Well, let's see. You get upgrades, you get another command center, you get reactors, you get tech labs, everything like that. So the point of this push right here is not to do a game-ending push. This isn't supposed to be killer damage that's going to just completely end the game. This is A, I'm going to scout what my opponent has. B, I'm going to tech up extremely fast behind this because I know I can keep him in his base. If he tries to move out, I've got drops. I can pick off all his probes, things like that, and it's really not worth it for the Protoss player. He'd have to go for a base trade for the most part, which would be very difficult at this point in the game. Especially if he has, you know, this bunker right here, he could bunker up again, and it would just be tough. So he's going to go ahead and run around here with a drop. Keep his units right there, but just note all of the expanding going on behind. He's throwing 2 racks down, he's getting his +1, he's getting combat shields, he's getting an engineering bay, he's getting an armory, he's getting an expansion. There's so many things that are going on behind this push, and that is the whole point of this, is to say, you know what, I'm going to be ready for the later game. So now he's going to go over here, possibly go up here, in for a drop. And he sees a lot of stalkers, so boom, blink. Okay, he has to imagine that there would have been blink with that many stalkers. Nobody makes that many stalkers without getting blink. So he's going to lose a few units, but they're actually going to pick off a couple units themselves, and they will be able to escape. In the meantime, drop behind the back because, hey, he saw his opponent's army was being very safe right there. Or not safe, I'm saying, very aggressive, pushing out to the middle of the map, pushing out over here to try and pick off this drop, and that's the beauty of Terran, is you can double drop. So once again, you know, the units lost tab, okay, you know, it's fairly even. He did a tiny bit of damage, you could say, you know, 200 minerals worth of damage. But the biggest thing is everything that he got down behind that. So he got reactors down, he got another tech lab, he got +1, he got combat shields, he got an expansion, he got an armory, all that stuff. So now he's just going to come over here and just deal with this really quickly. And actually able to pick off 3 stalkers, so that was, I guess it was worth it for the Protoss player a little bit. He picked off about 4 SCVs. Yeah, so 4 SCVs went down there, and a supply depot, but I would definitely say that SlayersMMA did not lose too much in that battle. And once again, now he has this 3rd, completing, something to definitely note. And also, he has this drop back here, and so he can continue to kind of poke and harass and do a little bit of damage with this drop if you want. So if he ever sees his opponent push out, get too aggressive, he's now using this factory to scout, very smart play. And Feast doing a good job of just being annoying with those blink stalkers, and actually going to lose almost all of them, so wow. Feast, with a little bit of missed micro right there, lost a lot, and that definitely shifted it, yep, out of his favor. And so here we go, we have a little drop, and he's just going to use this as a scouting drop. Beautiful job, he gets in here, he scouts this, he knows Blink's already done, so that's charge speed, and he scouted a Templar Archives, that's exactly what that was, and tries to go back here for a little drop, not so successful. I like the idea though. But that was the biggest thing right there, was a huge scout. So now he knows Templar Archives, and what do? Oh, you build a Ghost Academy. So perfect reaction to that, and he says, okay, I know my opponent is going to be on his blah blah blah. I can't even speak right now. I know my opponent is going to be going for that Templar tech. It's just building in right now, so by the time he gets it down, by the time he warps in, and by the time he gets or storm up and stuff, I will definitely have my Ghost out and be ready for him. So his Ghost Academy finishes. I'd imagine he gets his Mobius reactor here fairly soon. Continuing to go with these upgrades, so this will put him at 2-1. And from what he saw of his opponent, I believe his opponent's, yeah, he's still 0-0, just going to be finishing up 1-1 right now. So we can see that. So he knows he's 0-0, so even if 1-1 finishes fairly quickly, he knows he'll be ahead 2-1. So he has the upgrade advantage, and that's definitely huge in this matchup, especially with a bio army where upgrades mean so much damage, as it's just not exponential, sorry, but every damage adds so much more, because it's 6, like if you get +3, that's to 9, that's a huge difference between somebody that does like 40 damage going up to like 45 or 50 damage. So just the increase in damage, especially with the attack speed of these units. So Ghosts are revealed here, but it doesn't matter. He's going to go ahead and push out. Something that I would like to see right now is more barracks going down. He only has 6 barracks and a starport off of these 3 bases. 3 bases with 73 workers can support more than 6 racks. So by having only these 6 racks right here, he's going to start floating some money, and you need more unit producing structures. That's just kind of a basic thing to kind of have in the game. And so yeah, he's throwing down another X, but I'd like to see even one more, and possibly an expansion coming down behind this, taking his 4th, something like that. So here we go, we're going to get into a huge push over here. He scouts that there are no High Templars in there. The High Templars are up on this ramp, so this is the perfect time to engage. He catches his opponent kind of out of position. The units are split. No storms have still gone off because they were in that terrible position. He was able to get a few snipes on Ghost, and now he's really put himself in a good position. Note how many scans he has used simply in this fight, but they have all been totally worth it. He scouted the army, he scanned for the High Templars, he was able to snipe off some High Templar. He was able to, so there we go, once again, another scan. He consistently has vision of his army. He can send some Ghosts over here, snipe, that one goes down, and now his opponent's just really in a terrible position. If you look though at the money of SlayersMMA, he still is floating 2k minerals. This is what I was talking about. Even though he is mass producing out of all of his unit producing structures, he just has so much money that he could have had more unit producing structures going down. He could have had a command center already built by now. I like that he's getting his +3, and he finally, okay, so GG, and he finally throws down his 4th command center, stuff like that. So that could already be done at his 4th base had he started that when he pushed out. That's something extra that he could have done. Like I said, more unit producing structures, still floating a decent amount of money. Could have thrown down 2-3 more racks easy right there, I would have said. But other than that, it was just beautiful play by MMA right there. The big thing was the engagement, the way he was able to scout the army. His opponent pushed out without those High Templars. The High Templars stayed back in the base to build a little more energy. They weren't quite expecting a push at the time. He scouted that with a scan right there, and the first thing he looked for was High Templar. He said, okay, I see no High Templar in this base, so what did he do? He dropped a scan down here. He said, oh, there's the High Templar. I have a window right here where I can push in and take out these units. And if his Stalkers blink away, then I'll kill off all of his tanking units, his Immortals, his Sentries, his Zealots. I can kill all those off, and then it'll just be easy pickings versus the Stalkers and the High Templars, which it was. So he consistently had that scan going down, and he just knew he was ahead because he had that 3rd base up so much earlier than his opponent. So he scouted his opponent's 3rd. And when it was going down, I didn't really talk about it, but we saw he had that Marine there, and when the Marine was finally killed, and that was a good, like, 3 minutes after he got his 3rd. So he was ahead in the macro game, definitely, and he was able to just take advantage of that with the upgrades as well. His opponent had, now he has the 2-1, I believe, yeah. So now he has 2-1, but his opponent only had 1-1 at the time that he hit, so he had a slight upgrade advantage. He had the unit advantage because he was on those 3 bases, and he also had the tech to evenly match because he got a full scout in his opponent's base. He dropped the Marine there, he scouted the High Templar, he scouted the charge, and he ran all the way around. He only saw the 1 Robo. He saw the Forge that was, I don't know if it was upgrading when he saw it, but regardless, he saw the Robo, and he saw no Robotics Bay. He dropped here as well, no Robotics Bay. He was at the 3rd, no 3rd Nexus, so he knew exactly what his opponent was doing. And he didn't even need to go into Viking production. Like you can see, he's still building medevacs. And that's what I see a lot of Terran players do, is they'll just blindly start making Vikings. They'll be like, oh, well, I scouted a robotics facility, so clearly he's going to be going for Colossus. eventually, and I'm just going to make Vikings. And then they'll have like 8 Vikings, and sometimes there won't even be a Colossus out on the field. Your opponent goes for this Templar tech, and you didn't scout it. So using this backspace right here, using the Marine just to run around, so beautifully played. Always had a scout of his opponent. That's exactly what you need to do as a Terran player right there, and that's how you can easily just clean up and win. And notice he pushed at 17 minutes. That's before his opponent could get that death ball. It's a little bit past that mid game, kind of pushing into the later game, definitely, but he was able to just really work a good window for himself. So GG from MMA. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you learned something. Feel free to leave any feedback below, something that you feel I missed, something that you'd like to correct me on, anything like that. Yeah, and I will continue to do these series. I'm sorry it's been a little bit of time since the last episode, but I did have to drive home and was spending a little bit of time with my family for Easter. So happy Easter, everybody, and Mr. Llama out.